Hi, I'm Derek, and this is your chess lesson, the introduction. We will refer to this as Chess My Approach. I love to lecture, and I'm going to be lecturing about chess. It's not enough for you to learn how to play, for you to learn all the rules to the game, but the most important aspect of chess, as with any endeavor, is that you are motivated to play. That's how you become better. With an instructor or without one, if you are motivated to play, you will play and you will figure out ways to make yourself better. So that's going to be the first step that we'll experience in this introduction is how do I become a better player, and also why would I even want to become a better player. The first reason why you want to become a better player, or one of the possible reasons, is to beat your friends in a game of chess. If you have other friends that play chess, you want to win. So it's human nature to desire to become better and to desire to win. Also, there's no limit. Once you can beat all the friends on your block, then you beat everyone in your neighborhood, then you have state competitions and you have national competitions that you can go and become an even better player and prove your skill level in competition. How do you become a better player? By playing. Once you learn the rules to the game, once you have played some basic games, then your improvement will be your own. Because you play, a person who plays more often than someone else will improve their game quicker than the person who only plays now and then. Another very important way to improve your game is to learn by people who've already played. There are many books written on the subject, and we are going to even make at least one book part of our learning process over the next 3 weeks. Motivation and how do I improve my play on my own. That's the first step we're going to go through. I'll show you tournament flyers, teach you how to read the flyer, and absolutely on your own, when you're ready, you can experience a chess tournament, probably a local tournament. I only play in national tournaments because that's what I enjoy doing. I don't always win, but I always enjoy myself. The game itself is very simple. You learn how the different pieces move. I'm just going to explain to you right now quickly so you'll have some understanding of the game that we're going to be going through in a couple of minutes. The rook moves straight as many spaces as he would like to go, but he cannot jump over another piece. In chess, if you encounter your opponent's piece, you have the option of actually capturing that piece and taking over that square. That is the rook. The knight, who stands next to the rook in the beginning of the game, moves in an L shape, 2 up, 1 over, or 2 up, 1 over in any direction. You can move 2 up, 1 over in any direction, to the left or to the right. That's your knight. And the knight is unique in that the knight has the ability to jump over other pieces. That is the only piece in your army that can jump over other pieces. The bishop, who takes a position directly next to the knight. So the rook is on one side of the knight, the bishop is on the other side of the knight. The bishop moves in a diagonal, which means the bishop moves on a slant, forwards or backwards in any direction, but always on a diagonal. The bishop does not move straight, only moves on the diagonal. And again, when it encounters an opponent's piece, the bishop has the option of capturing that piece. Now next to the bishop will be either a king or a queen. If the queen is located next to the bishop, remember that queen will always start the game on her own color. So if it's a white queen, it will start the game on a white square. The queen is a very powerful piece, has the ability to move in any direction on a diagonal or straight, as many squares as the queen would like to. One thing a queen cannot do is jump over another piece. If it encounters an opponent's piece, it captures that piece and takes over that square. Now next to the queen will either be a bishop, which we have already discussed, or the king. And we are talking about the very beginning of the game. The king is the piece that you want to protect. If you lose your king, you lose the game. The king can only move one square in any direction. The king has to move or has to use one of his pieces to block if it is in check. The first thing that the king must do is get out of check by some process, either moving out of the way or using another of its own piece to block the check. If you lose your king, you lose the game. The only way you can lose your king is by being placed in checkmate, which means no matter what the king does, the opponent will always be able to capture the king. Next to the king will be the bishop. We've already discussed the bishop. Next to the bishop will be the knight. We've already discussed the knight. Next to the knight will be the rook, which covers the starting back the starting back rank of your chess game. In front of each of those pieces are pawns. Each pawn has the right to move 2 squares forward on that pawn's first move. The pawn is unique in that the pawn captures differently from the way that it moves. The pawn only moves forward, but it only can capture one space on a slant in either direction, to the left or to the right. The pawn again has the option to move 1 square or 2 squares on its first move. Once it has made its first move, it can only move 1 square forward after that. The pawn is unique in that it has the ability to capture another pawn by en passant. En passant is a French word, I believe. What that means is that your opponent has attempted to avoid capture by moving his pawn 2 squares up when your pawn is on the 5th rank already. He tries to avoid capture, but he can still be captured 1 square on a slant because he tried to avoid capture. You only have one opportunity to do that. Once you've passed on that opportunity, you can no longer capture en passant with that pawn. If the situation should occur on another file, then that pawn will have the option to capture on that other file. We've covered all the pieces and we've covered the pawn. We're going to quickly talk about the value of the pieces. A pawn, in theory, is worth 1 point. A rook is worth 5 points. A knight is worth 3 points. A bishop is also worth 3 points. Your queen is worth 9 points. The king carries no value because if the king is exchanged, the game is lost. You can never exchange your king. We talked about the beginning position of a chess game. We talked about the values of the pieces. The value of your pieces is evaluated by their mobility. The greater mobility of the piece, the greater value of that piece. And it's interesting, as you learn more and more about chess, the mobility changes during the course of a game. And a piece that may only have been worth 3 points at the very beginning can be found in a position where it's worth a lot more. But that understanding will come as you learn more and more about the game of chess. So what we're going to do here is we're going to switch over quickly and actually go through a game. Now, you're not expected to understand everything that goes on in this game, but it will show you how your ability can improve by studying your own games and by studying games of master, grandmaster players, which are all published, or you can pull them down right offline. Let's get started.